Hello! Welcome back. It's part 2. I've been putting together a WebSocket server with Aerys and it's been going fantastically. Thanks very much to all the hot tips from chat. And I've also realized that my Flux stuff is kicking in, so I'll just disable that again. It is sunset. Thank you, Flux. Okay, so where we left off, I just implemented a WebSocket Echo server. So we can connect to the web server, and we can send it socket messages, and we can get those back, which is pretty rad. It's exactly what we need, because now we're going to take this static JavaScript backend, and we're going to move all this functionality, just like it is, to the server, so that it can be shared across multiple clients, and they can all edit data, and they can do it in real time, and it'll be great. So, back to the server PHP. Chat pointed out, I don't actually need that. I don't need the require because this isn't run directly, this is loaded through the Aerys runtime. Okay, so it's not sunset everywhere, it's sunset where I am. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we've called this class backend. I presume the pages are just going to live within here. So let's hardcode those. For now, private pages, and we'll give them some data. Let's go back here and just copy this stuff out because we can. And we'll just format it differently. No. Okay. Oh, syntax errors in alignment. First world problems. Okay. So let's select a bunch of these. 4. Make those arrays. And let's select a bunch of these. Oops. G. Make those array closings. Closings. Whatever. Never mind me. And that should be it. Okay, sweet. Also, you'll probably notice I'm using PHP Storm for this because I got kind of frustrated not being able to click through to definitions. And having the syntax formatting is like a really cool bonus anyway. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, for a start, we could establish a kind of pattern. When we send messages to the server, we could do, wow, what have I just done? I just totally messed this up. Hold on, let me make a connection back to the server. Add event listener. Okay, so when we send messages to the server, we can do something like, how's the volume, by the way? We can do something like socket send, and we'll use JSON stringify on the client because it's kind of useful to have. We can send an object, I'll get there eventually, with type request. Do we want to do type request? Type data, method data, method data, method data. Okay, we'll do it like this. Okay, send JSON stringify. We get back that string, right? Because we're just sending it as a string, and it's being read as a string on the server side. But what do we want to do here? Well, maybe we say something like JSON is JSON decode body, and then we work with this on the server side. This is going to be object by default. I think if we do true as a second argument, we get an array. Associative array, yes, as the second argument. Right, so now we can say something like, if is set JSON type, do something like this. So we expect that every message is going to have a type property, or we're just going to ignore it. Then we can say something like, if JSON type is all? No, this is the wrong parameter. Method. That's the wrong parameter. Okay, method data. Okay, if method is, I'll rename that to all. If method is all, then what we want to send is JSON encode this get all, this all, this all. That seems fine. Okay, let's close the sidebar and look at what we're doing. So if we get messages from the client that have a method, messages that are JSON objects, and if they have a method, in fact I'll say something like if JSON, if is array JSON and isSetJSON method. Okay, so if we get an object from the client and it has a method property, and that method property is all, then send back a JSON encoded result of whatever this all is. Now we can have a private function called all that returns all the pages. Return this pages. What does that look like on the client side? Well, let's send something to the server. Say, method is all. What data do we get back? Nothing, data all. I forgot, I need to restart the server. Okay. I'm going to do all the stuff on one line. Okay. Socket will send method all. Okay, so we get an array back. It's a JSON string and it's got a bunch of objects in it. ID1, title, home, body with the ellipsis. This is really cool. This is very similar to our backend. But how do we use this? We're not using this right now. What we need is for our backend to have this all method actually access that socket. And in fact, let's take it even a step further. We need to accept the WebSocket as a parameter to this backend. Otherwise, how are we going to know what to do the communication over? So back in the constructor, we can say something like WebSocket, and we can assign that WebSocket. And now, what is it asking for? I don't know what it's asking for. Oh, maybe it wants it. Maybe it's a spelling thing. Inspections, man. What's wrong now? Whatever. Okay, we're assigning this WebSocket to an instance of the backend. So when we create the backend, we need to give it a WebSocket now. We can say something like new WebSocket, and we'll just hard code this for now. We also have to use WS as the protocol and WS as the endpoint. Now, when we get all, let's just make sure that this still works. That's a good idea. Let's make sure this still works. So this is not the right endpoint. It is here. Because I haven't set up a static file server for the React stuff yet. I'll just use a separate endpoint for that for now. So, do we have an error? No, we don't. What if we try and get this data through the WebSocket? What if we comment this out and we say something like, maybe if you camel case is checking both words independently for spelling. Yeah, I am camel casing it now. That inspection went away. It just took very long to get there. Just took very long for the inspection to go away. PHP Storm's a little slow on me today, I think. Okay. Now, we can attach event listeners just like we did in the console to this WebSocket. We can say something like this WebSocket. In fact, I want to rename this because I don't like WebSocket capitalized like this. I'm just going to call it socket. Socket's fine. This socket, add event listener for the message event. And what we get back is event. And now we can check a type here. We can say something like JSON, JSON, J-A-S-O-N, of course. JSON is JSON pass event data. If JSON and JSON method. If JSON method, this is very similar to the PHP side of things, right? If JSON method is data, then call this, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Do we want to emit this straight back to here? What do we want to do? We could actually have make this backend an event emitter. In fact, that's totally what we're going to do. GitHub JS event emitter. Let's do that. Let's add an event emitter to this. Component emitter, event emitter 3. Is this what we want to do? Will this even work? How do we install this? npm install save event emitter 3. Okay, let's try that. I'll do it here. How's the music? I'm really loving this music. Okay, so event emitter 3 is there. I wonder if we can just import from it directly. Shall we see? Import event emitter from event emitter. See ya! Thanks for being here. Can we do it like this? Will this even work? Maybe there are instructions on how to do this. Usage require event emitter 3. Okay, do it like that. Class extends event emitter. Let's see if this gives us any errors. For now, I'm just going to comment this out, and I'm going to enable this again because I want to see that it doesn't give errors. So I'll refresh back here with our npm serve command. Does it load? No, it doesn't, because I killed the server. So I killed the server, and I didn't start it up again. Okay, this is not allowed before super. That is true. In our constructor, we actually have to call super. I think. Interesting. Okay, so it doesn't load event emitter 3. Okay, that's fine. That's part of our import.js stuff, right? If we go system.js stuff. If we go back here, and we have a look at where this is. It'll be in node modules. So extends in ES6 says basically this class that I'm making, base it on another class. It's inheritance, yeah, exactly. Exactly that, it is inheritance. Event emitter 3, index. What does this export? Okay, maybe that'll work. Maybe we can say something like event emitter. In fact, I'll hyphenate it. Event emitter. That is in one level up. Node modules. Event emitter 3. Index. Maybe this will work. I just want to move this up a little bit. It's like there. Move this up there. Okay, now we can change our index file to not use this horrible thing. We can just say event emitter. Okay, let's see if that works. I hope it does. It totally does! Does this still work? Great, so our JavaScript is still working, and now we're inheriting from event emitter, which means, let's go back and look at the documentation, that we can do things like on emit. What? How do we actually emit events on this? Once, usage, that's pretty weird. Oh, okay, well I think it's on an emit. I'm guessing it's on an emit, right? So we can uncomment this and we can say socket on message. No, in fact, it's not for that. That's just a normal JavaScript event emitter. But here we can say, okay, if JSON and message and JSON method, then we can this emit data, and we'll emit it with the JSON data. Okay, so that means if we send data from the server and the method is data, then we have to attach a data property to it that we can get the stuff back in. And I'll show you how we can do something like this. Okay, I'll show you how exactly this works in a minute, in just a minute. Okay, so let's go back to our web server and let's say, okay, what you're sending back, well, we do want to send that back, but actually we want to send method data, and data is that. Now this is a little messy, we can probably clean this up a little bit, but not right now. Not right now. Okay, let's restart the server, and let's send a request. Oh, not that server. Let's restart this server over here. And let's send a manual request. In fact, we'll send it... Oh, I mean, what do we want to do on that? Let's go into our... Sorry, I'm jumping around quite a bit here, but let's go into our page admin class. Now, the way that we're getting this data is on the constructor, we're just calling the all method. And the traditional backend returns that data immediately in a blocking way. But maybe what we want to do is comment that out. So maybe what we want to say is this: props backend on. Remember, because this is the new event meta thing that we've got, on data console log data. Oh, not like that. Console log data like that. Okay. In fact, we can. Yeah. I'll just leave that out for now. I'll just leave that out for now. Famous last words. Refresh this. Let's see what happens here. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, I'm quite all over the place. We'll set this state on data. We'll do something like this, set state. Because when we get new page data, we want to update the state. The state pages is an empty array. Okay, so we start this component with an empty pages array. If we get data from the backend in the form of an event, then we update that data. We can figure out how exactly the event binding works on here so that we don't fire this too many times or have memory leaks. But for now, I just want to get something functional going. Okay, what we should also probably do is something like this: props backend all. Because we want to send an instruction. We're now doing two-way communication, so when we create a new page admin, we want to send an instruction, and that happens with this props backend all. And that'll send a request through the socket to the server to get the pages. And then the server will respond with a data event. And when we get that data event in the backend, we deserialize it. And if the method is all, or the method is data, I think we said it was, if the method's data, then we emit the data event with the actual data. So we make one request. You can think of it like making a request to and from the server. We make a request through the socket to get all the data. The socket works that stuff out and sends it back in the form of a data event. The backend gets that data event, deserializes it, and if it's correct, sends it through back to the page admin that's listening for that event. Check the archives if you're confused by what's going on. Right, let's try this out. I'm looking for some kind of error to see what's going on. I have a WebSocket connection. I'm not seeing anything here. Okay, let's do some debugging. Let's close all of this stuff and let's go back to the backend and let's just console log event data. Okay, what does this give us? Do we get any messages back from this? Yes? No? No. Okay. Console log. Oh, maybe I want to bind that because I'm a fool. No messages? Okay. Console log this socket. What do we get here? Nothing? That's pretty weird. We're not actually getting a message back from the server. Let's move this out of this event listener and see what it's defined as on construction. Okay, it's a WebSocket, so let's go over to the server. Okay, so if there's a method parameter and it equals all, which is I think what we're sending here, right? Or, I forgot, we're not actually sending this. This socket send JSON stringify. I'll get this soon. Method is all. And that's, I think, all we need to do there. And I'll just put this on new lines of its own so that it's less confusing to me. Okay, let's refresh this. So we have the socket connection. Failed to execute, WebSocket still connecting. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, I think we can get around that. We'll have to add another event listener here. This socket add event listener open. Oh. Thus. Okay. And when it's open, we'll send this request. Where is this? What? What am I even trying to do here? Failed to execute send on opening WebSocket. This emit open. It feels kind of weird proxying this twice, because what we're going to have to do is go to page admin and we're going to have to say this props backend on open. I mean, we don't really even need this event, but anyway. When it's open, call backend all. We'll have to try and do something like that. Let's see if that works. No frickin' ways. That totally works. Okay, but now we have a problem because we're doing the updates and we can't really map over data. We're not storing the data anywhere. We're just sending it straight onto the client. This is curious. How do we get around doing this? Suggestions, people. Give me suggestions. I'm going to comment this out. I'm just going to clean up a little bit while I leave you folks to think about what we can do to solve this problem. Open, emit data. And call it with event and data. And then in here I'm going to say event and data. How do we get around this problem? Use a burning basket. Maybe. What's actually doing this? Page admin, line 32. This is the problem. We don't have state pages. We're not storing this to state. Well, we kind of are here. We kind of are here. But then why don't we have access to it in here? Truth be told, I don't know why we're having this. The burning basket page. It's gone. I don't know. I don't know where it is. Let me go back and check on the server. This is obviously a grave error. A grave error. Burning baskets. Empty. Loads the data. It's loading fake data. Oh, I need to restart the server. What'd I do for a file watcher? Here we go, burning baskets, it's back. But now at least we know for certain it's getting the data from the server. Come on, give me suggestions. How do we solve this problem? How do we solve this problem? Here, this state pages is null. Because we're getting an error, right? When we go edit, what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, when we go update and we change a field, the update function fires, right? This updates push. And then it's calling all again, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look here. handle update. It does this set state, this props backend all. It sets the state from here to whatever it gets out of backend all. But what it gets out of backend all is nothing, because we're not returning anything anymore. We're just making a call through the socket. I put it to you, what we need to do is delete this. I'm going to try deleting this and see what happens. Okay, updates are not going to come through now though, because we're not sending them to the server. So we're getting new data back from the server, but we're not updating the data on the server. Very interesting, hey? I'm having so much fun. So I'm about to go on a break again. I want you to think about any questions you may have and ask them in chat, and we can talk about them when we come back.